everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we get started, if you like this kind of content and you are new here, make sure you subscribe by clicking the subscribe button down here. If you also like this video and want more videos like this, let YouTube know by giving this video a thumbs up. And if you love what I do, help me by watching my ads as well as sharing this content. Okay, you guys, let's get started on the last episode of Teen Mom OG. Okay, I have been covering the story mostly because of, or the show rather, mostly because of the way I wanted to see how MTV was planning to piecemeal a storyline related to Amber Portwood. I released audio on my channel back in the fall when everything was sort of in the middle of her case again, her case related to what happened between her and Andrew in July of 2019. The audio that I released was over the course of several months. The first one, there was one that was from August of 2018. There was one from the winter of December of 2018. There was another one that was in the spring of 2019, and then another in July of 2019. Now, Amber would like you to think that all of these audios came from way back in the day, except there was real audio of what had happened between her and Andrew on the night in question. So what we are watching today is her trying to explain this away. And then the producers spent the better part of the first half of the show talking to and working through this with other cast members or having other cast members talk about it. So the episode starts and it opens up with this thing like Amber saying that all this audio keeps being released. And it's of her from 9 months ago, which isn't exactly true. Then it cuts to Cheyenne and Cory, who are listening to the audio outside on the patio at, I believe, Cheyenne's home. During this, Cory's eyes are sort of wide, and he's listening to everything, and he's like, this is super intense. And he asks Cheyenne if she had heard any of this before she had went out to see her and support her at her court hearing. And Cheyenne tells Cory, no, I did not. So then he's trying to explain it away, and Cory's just like, well, I just feel like Andrew is provoking this entire situation. And I think that, when somebody has issues like this, if you just keep poking, you're going to get a reaction. All the while he knows that he's recording it. And Cheyenne says the same thing. She's like, yeah, I mean, he does know that she's recording it. But Cheyenne kind of cuts that conversation off by telling him that it doesn't really matter who or what happened. She cannot say those kinds of things. Saying that to anyone is not okay, and she needs to get help, and hopefully she knows it wrong. Then they cut to Chattanooga with Maci, and she's sitting in front of her computer, and she's reading an article from the Ashley, who I'm convinced never mind, I won't go there. She's reading an article from the Ashley, and she's talking about how this thing isn't so terrible. Everyone has their faults, she says. And she said, I'm not condoning anything that she has said or done because it's wrong. That's how she pronounced it. I thought that was interesting. And she said, but if I ever lose my mind, and she's talking to Taylor at this point, I hope to God that you would call the cops and help me get help, not record this stuff and not this. And she points to her laptop. And then Maci goes on to say, she's so much better than this. The true person that she is not this. This is going to be a catastrophe. Now, this is sort of my question, and this is the part that they don't talk about it. But Andrew did try to get her help, and he did try to get help from Dr. Drew. He has stated on Instagram that he reached out to Dr. Drew for help. He has claimed that he has tried to get her to go to her doctor's appointments. He has also said that he was working with her doctors to try to get her better care, and Amber was resistant. But he also said that at some point, this isn't just about her health, but a repeated pattern of behavior. And I think that's true here because Gary, she's done this to Gary. She actually spent time in the clinker for that. And then she also, had some altercations with her ex, Matt, and now Andrew. So Maci, I do think he tried to get her help, and I think it's a lot easier for you to say that. And I would sort of caution you because you will extend olive branches all day long to Amber because it doesn't affect you, but you will not allow or give any of those olive branches to Ryan, who clearly has many of the same issues as Amber. So whenever it suits Maci, she will defend it. But because nothing happened between her and Amber ever, Maci will say, well, she's better than this. So isn't Ryan better than this, Maci? They basically do the same things, except Ryan doesn't fight. Okay. So then they go over to Kate, and Kate, Mrs. Sava lady, she is the martyr. Kate is the martyr. She always thinks she needs to fix everyone. She is massively, in my opinion, codependent. She has always got to do anything that she can to not spend time at her house. She's always trying to find a way to leave, to take care of everyone else but herself. And she's talking to the producers, and she says that she's talked to Amber. She's like, Amber knows it's wrong. I know it's wrong. And I don't want to drop her as a friend because she did something wrong. And then she goes on this thing, and it's like, I feel like we totally see Kate's martyr complex and her, my opinion, her codependency right here, because she's like, I feel like I'm a really good friend. Like, Kate's entire identity is in saving people and helping people, which Tyler says, yeah, you're like a mother hen trying to save the world. And she says, as long as I don't try to save her or take care of her, that's exactly what you're doing by supporting this. Period, my opinion. So the producer asks her, what did you experience when you heard the audio? And Kate says it triggered her childhood naturally. She says that hearing James in the background sort of cooing reminded her of scenes between her, where she got in the middle between her mother, April, and her boyfriends. And it cut to a scene from way back in the day during like teen, I think 16 and pregnant maybe still, where she was in this argument with Butch and April, and they were screaming at each other, and she was in the middle of it. You know, and she says that she might need to go to her psychiatrist and get some coping skills. And then Amber gives a phone call, and then Tyler's like, well, let her know that we're filming, and let her know in case she doesn't want this recorded. Which got me wondering, like, so when Amber says she doesn't want to be recorded and you don't want to record her, you don't, but you can ambush Andrew and then say, well, we can record you anytime. We can, you're on contract. Legally, you guys could have forced Kate and Amber to have that phone call on camera, but you didn't, which again tells me there's a narrative here of painting a specific storyline that you want to paint, and you don't want to hear anything different. My opinion. Okay, so then they get over to Gary, and so Gary is sitting down with Christina, and he says that Amber says that she's not going to come over because she's embarrassed and ashamed about everything that's come out related to this audio. And Christina says that, you know, Leah is starting to comprehend everything, but she doesn't want, so it's hard for them. And then, you know, Gary's talking about how Amber doesn't want to be around Leah because of that, because she doesn't want to own up to it and face it, which again reiterates to me that Amber is a part-time mom. In the real world, Amber, and in the real world for most parents, when we mess up and when we deal with things, we actually have to face our shortcomings. But with Amber, because she doesn't have custody, and if she doesn't want to deal with it and she doesn't have to be faced with her choices, she can just say, I don't feel good and I don't want to see the kid. Moms, real parents can't do that. They have to deal with the things as they come. My opinion, again. So, you know, Christina is going on and on and on about how they have to be there for Amber. So she wants her to go over to Amber's house so that they can help her. And I'm sitting there thinking, why does Gary have to help her? Why? Because he's the father of the child that they had together 11 years ago, which he has had primary custody of for probably most of her life, maybe since she's been 2, so 9 years. He has been the primary parent in her life. Amber rarely sees her in comparison to like what, you know, Gary sees with her. And if you think of it that way, why does he not only have to take care of her daughter all of the time, but then also take care of Amber? The problem with Amber is that she's got everyone else in her life constantly picking up her messes, that she is not growing up. She has everyone enabling her, including the production at MTV. Again, my opinion. So he tells Christina to go drive over there. Christina, go get in your truck, she says. And Gary drives over to Amber's house. Then we get over to Mackenzie, they aren't even talking to her about Amber. And they're sort of just ignoring the fact that Mackenzie has nothing to do with this. And they're sort of like not including her in any of the, all the girls stuff. Mackenzie's very much an outlier, I will say. I kind of feel bad for her in that way. So she says that she and Josh went on a couples retreat. It helped them. Josh brought her cupcakes. It's her birthday. And then he sends her on a scavenger hunt for her birthday. And she's supposed to go over to her mom's house to get the next letter. Yay. All right. So then it goes over to Maci's house, and she's talking about having a birthday party at the zoo for Bentley, and she wants to do something amazing for him because he's going to be 11 years old, and, you know, he's been such a good kid, and so she wants to make sure that she can invite Jager and Hudson, who are Jager is Ryan's biological son, and Hudson is his stepson, Mackenzie's son from a previous marriage, and she wants Bentley to be around all of his siblings. And so she thinks it's important for him to have everyone there so he can celebrate with his entire family. And then Taylor is sort of concerned about whether or not that would be okay, considering that they have this permanent RO, and that whether or not he would get in trouble legally for being there. And Maci says, as long as everything is in writing and we can't get in trouble. I actually don't think that's true when it comes to these cases, because even if you want to break it, the law says you can't. So I don't think there's stipulations where you can say, I'm going to allow us to break this, because I just don't think that's how it works. But I know in the state of Minnesota, that's not how it works. You don't get to decide that you're going to break it and be okay with it, because you're either okay with it all the time or you're okay with it none of the time. This in-between stuff tells me that it might be time to let it go. I don't know, but that's just me. So then back to Cheyenne. She wants to start an event planning company. Cory is like happy for her, but he doesn't want her to put too much on her plate. And then Cory finds out that the challenge wants him to come back on. He has this history on the challenge of basically being a drunk, belligerent guy that hooks up with everyone and fights everyone. But he wants to change that, and he's really ready this time, but he needs to talk to Cheyenne, and she's going to be setting up this business, and now she's going to have Ryder all the time. And this is the same guy that literally lectured her a couple weeks ago about how she has so much on her plate and she's not making Ryder the priority, and yet he's like, I'm going to peace out for 2 months and go get wasted and hang out on the challenge. Okay, whatever. Now, back to Kate. This scene drove me crazy. So she is going to go visit her psychiatrist because she wants to get coping skills and talk through what happened with Amber. Yet during the appointment, there was no coping skills provided on screen. They might have had a discussion off camera, or maybe it wasn't made the final cut, but instead it made Kate look like a martyr again. And it was like puffing her up as being the best friend for standing by her girl. So she says to her psychiatrist that she's very affected by the audio, and, you know, it made her really, like, go back to that place in her childhood. And she excuses this behavior, again, without having any information beyond what is told to her by Amber. She didn't talk to Andrew, I'll tell you that much. She says she was going through a really bad postpartum. And these recordings were of her allegedly doing things to her son's father, and you could hear the baby babbling in the background. And she says it triggers her memories because it reminds her of everything she went through, you know. And of course the psychiatrist is like, well, that must have been very traumatic for you. And then Kate says, you know, I have a very big sadness for James. And then she's like, you know, I just try to help her and talk her off the ledge, which again, Kate, is you saving someone because you can't save yourself, so you want to save everyone else. And she listens to me. Again, I'm the savior. I'm the martyr. Yay, Kate. And then she says we can, and she'll listen to me and we can talk it through. And instead of the psychiatrist sort of like pointing out the fact that Kate could potentially be enabling this crap, she says, it's so nice for her to have such a stable friend like you. I mean, that stability can be like lithium in her brain. What? No. What? No. If Amber was actually taking her meds, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation, but I don't know if she did. And again, I don't know how a stable friendship can take the place of medications that would actually help her be better. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And she's like, you're just such a great friend. And Kate's like, I know. Thank you. I do care about her so much. I'm the best friend. All right. So then we get back to Gary and Amber. And this is where I'm going to show you this photo. This photo right here pretty much sums up how their interactions went. Gary was so irritated with Amber. So he gets into the house and he says, like, you're going to be all right. Everything's going to be fine. You'll get through this. You know, he's like, you did this stuff. You have to deal with it. You know, you need to take responsibility. You have a liability to this. And then Amber starts with the excuses. She starts throwing up her hands, her brow furrows. I mean, this photo right here is a perfect indication of how her temper, her attitude, and nothing in her has changed, in my opinion. And so she says, when you have anxiety, when you have bipolar, when you're BPD, when you have anxiety, and then you add postpartum onto everything, you're not in the right state of mind. She always uses all of these illnesses as her excuse. It's so irritating. And here's the thing. She was on marriage boot camp, and during her marriage boot camp talk, they talked about how she grew up and how she witnessed a lot of this behavior growing up, and how her first reaction is always to lash out and get physical. And she admitted that she watched her parents do this. Dr. Ish explained to her that this was not her illnesses that was causing it, but learned behavior of seeing what she saw growing up. And it's her first reaction to resort to being physical, not because of her illnesses. He said plenty of illnesses don't result in this. He says this sort of behavior is a learned behavior, and you have to be mindful of it and learn better coping mechanisms. To which she was always like, no, nope, it's the nope, that's not true. Because having to do the work, Amber, would actually be, you know, helpful. But then your couch would miss you, right? Okay, so anyway, she goes on and on and on about how this is, you know, her and her PPD. And Gary's like, well, isn't this over? And she was like, well, yeah, I got over it like 4 to 5 months ago. So this is before she actually went to court, okay? And so if this was before she went to court, she's basically admitting here that her PPD was over before she even had that altercation in July. Because 4 or 5 months ago, say this is September, would have been June or May. And mind you, James at this point is well over a year old, and typically if treated, it doesn't last that long. Now, you'd have to consult your doctor, but I do know that properly treated PPD is manageable, and it's whether or not she ever had that diagnosis. Now, on Instagram, Andrew insists that she was never diagnosed with PPD, and he says that she never obtained treatment for it, nor was prescribed medication for it. So did she have PPD, or is this another, like, I'm going to blame a diagnosis kind of thing? Two different stories here. So he gets really frustrated at this point, and he's like, when she starts blaming all of this stuff on her mental health, Gary's like, you're the one that says you're going to come with me to pick up Leah from school, and then you don't come because of the way you feel. And then she says, I can't look my daughter in the face right now. And he said, no, because you need help. Again, he's basically saying to her, just because you can't handle it doesn't mean that your life stops and your daughter's need for you quits. Part of being a parent is showing up. Anyways, so he says that she's like, I got the help already. I was still going to my psychiatrist. Everything's fine. All the while she's looking like this and yelling at him, and looks like she would, if she could, pop off on him and probably land a nugget on his face. And, you know, he's like, you were wrong in the video, and you have to take liability for that behavior. What you did was wrong. And then she sort of stops and goes, well, I'm remorseful for what I did because I don't want to be that person, and I never did. And then he says, if you go off and get anger management, I think you'll feel better. And she's like, the need is just not there, but I'll do it for my son. I just really don't need this. And he's like, I'm going to make a call, and I'm making the appointment. Which made me think, like, Gary, are you so sick and tired of actually cleaning up her messes? Like, still, 11 years later? He gets an appointment for 4 o'clock. He's like, all you have to do is be receptive. All right. Now, Cheyenne and her is sitting down with her mom, and she is talking about event planning. Cory speaks to the challenge, and he talks to Taylor and tells her, and then Taylor's, like, crying, and he's like, are you nervous that I'm going to, like, cheat on you? Because earlier this fall, it was a lady friend in New York started releasing some photos of him sending inappropriate photos of his stuff to her. He denied it, but this woman in New York had a lot of evidence that suggested otherwise. So there's this history of him sort of being a philanderer, which he admits. So, You take that with whatever. And then he says that it's a really great opportunity for him to prove things to her. Because sitting in an alcohol-fueled house with a bunch of hot girls is going to really help that. Okay. So Mackenzie keeps going on her scavenger hunt. They go to Chili's. She sends a photo to Josh. They go get massages and a pedicure. They talk about what she wants in a partner, blah, blah, blah. And then back to Kate. She starts talking about how she had been feeling good about her appointment with her psychiatrist, and then she got home and she said that everyone online was coming at her. And she said that because she was supporting Amber. And Tyler said that Kate didn't do anything wrong. It was before Kate knew anything about the audio, and what person wouldn't go to support a friend? I wouldn't. That's just me. In my, entire life, I've never gone to court to support a friend. I just don't do that. But that's just me again. It was before Kate knew anything, blah, blah, blah. All three of them have gone through a lot, meaning Andrew, James, and Amber, says Tyler. Kate says, I've even told Amber that if you need me to come and sit with you and be with you, I will fly there. Of course you will, Kate, because you will do anything to not deal with your life. You will fly anywhere to be martyr Kate. Yay. And she's like, all the fans are freaking out, saying I'm condoning this. And then Tyler's like, I think they should Google condoning versus supporting, blah, 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 blah. Then Maci, she wants to get Ryan to come to the party. Maci says she texts Mac, and Mac wants there to be no issues. Maci and her friend talk about if Ryan can come. Mac doesn't want tension at all in the party. Mac sends, now back to Mackenzie and Josh. She sends a text to Josh about what she wants in a husband. Then they go to the place where Josh proposed to her. She actually is told to throw her diamond ring in the water, and then go back and follow some roses to where he opens up a box and says that he loves you and proposes, and he gives her a new diamond ring. I can't believe she threw her diamond ring in the lake. Girl, pawn that stuff. You can get some cash. All right. Now back to Amber. They leave to go to the anger management appointment, and Gary's like, I'll just drop you off and I'll hang out while you talk. And then they're going to probably be like, why are you bringing your ex-girlfriend here? This is weird. And Amber says that she's so emotionally drained, but if anyone knows, what she's been through, it's her and Gary, and they've been through so much. She says she's so drained that she's literally dead, and it's super intense. And then they go into the sessions, and then Amber comes out blowing bubbles, and she faints. And they don't really say what happens. They don't tell us what happens. They just see this, an ambulance show up, and it's just very odd to me that this happened. It seemed very staged, but again, this is just me, these types of things can happen when people want to avoid talking about things. Did she come out and this happened because she didn't want to talk about it, or was she really not feeling good? It wasn't like it was a hot day. I don't know. And they, of course, don't tell us. And we know that Amber's dramatic, but if something really physically did happen to her, I don't want to, suggest otherwise. I just thought it was weird. And then back to Cheyenne and Cory. She's at home doing her business plan for event planning company. Cory comes to pick up Ryder, and then he says that he's going to go on the challenge, and he's going to be away for 2 months, and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, 2 months? Oh my gosh. And then he's like, yeah, but if I win $1 million, I can really set up my life. And Cheyenne's like, no female hookups, no fights. Don't let them get in your head. Okay. Then back to Mackenzie and Ryan. Actually, first time we see Mackenzie and Ryan is the very end of the day, at the end of the episode, and Ryan looks blitzed out of his mind. He looks higher than a kite. He is stammering. He's breaking out with his skin. He is eyes wide like he normally is. He does not seem sober at all in this scene. Jen and Larry go over to their house that they just bought and moved into, which coincidentally is in Mackenzie's name, not in Ryan's name. Not sure why, but that's how the records looked in where they live. And then Ryan's stammering, and he's talking to Jen about whether or not he's going to go to Bentley's party. And, if they're filming it, I'm just going to stay away from them. And I'm going to keep 100 feet away. I don't want to get in trouble at all. And then his dad and his mom are kind of like, what? You're really going to act like this, Ryan? What are you doing? And Ryan's like, I'm in this situation to begin with because of a lie. So he claims that Taylor lied about what Ryan showed up to a soccer game and said to him, which prompted them to receive this protective order to begin with. And Larry's like, why do you have to be so ugly about this? And he says that, Ryan, what if you did lose your cool? What if you don't even remember? And Ryan's like, I didn't lose my cool, as he's literally yelling at Larry. Ryan says that Larry is always defending Maci and Taylor and never him. He's like, you sit me down and you make me look in your eyes and you're always on my behind. But he says ASS. And I've had it. I got a warrant on my PO because I broke probation, because I got a protective order and blah, 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 blah. And it's all their fault. That's the reason I went into jail. And his dad's like, that's the reason, Ryan? Really? That's the reason. That's the reason, Ryan. Interesting. You know, like Larry's like, almost like, you are so full of crap. You are lying. Ryan is so agitated and angry. This is, again, why I think that he is high, because he's so defensive and unwilling to take any responsibility for his behavior. So Larry and Jen are trying to diffuse the situation. Ryan's going off. Mackenzie's like stone silent, not a word out of Mackenzie's mouth the entire time. And they end up leaving. And that's how it ends. And, you know, Ryan's furious. So that was the end of the episode. Next week, apparently, they're going to go to the birthday party and they're going to see everything related to, Maci's going to say that he looks high. I think next week, too, something to do with Cheyenne and Matt breaking up. And something about a plea deal for Amber and Mackenzie and some other people. So that's what we've got for this. Overall, I found this episode to be relatively boring and not a lot happened. Obviously, the Amber stuff is going to continue to drive me crazy because this whole idea that she's going to continue to play the victim and blame everybody but herself and never take responsibility. And then she has all of these enablers, Kate, Gary, MTV, letting her use these excuses, letting her get by with this, not giving her consequences. And then she basically gets a slap on the wrist by the court for this. Everyone and their mom is enabling this. She is mandated to do a ton of work for this court case. And at this point, she does have to do the anger classes and the DB classes and parenting classes. So at the end of the day, you hope that she will get better. But the way that she acted in this episode, I still haven't seen her take any responsibility or feel any sort of remorse that looked genuine. And for Andrew's part, he posted a photo on Instagram, and it was a photo of Pink Floyd, and it said another brick in the wall, insinuating that they keep throwing bricks at him. So I feel sorry that this is how they're treating Andrew. In any other situation, if the roles were reversed, they would not be cutting this kind of slack to the if it was a male. I just don't see that happening. Unless that's what they've done in the past, I don't know. But MTV, I'm sure, will just say that they have a responsibility to show Amber's side and that Andrew didn't want to be filmed. But I think Andrew knew how it was going to play out, and I think he was smart not to be filmed, to be honest, because why would you want to be filmed when you know that they can paint your story any way that they want? They can manipulate the facts. They can edit it to make it appear a certain way, and you have no control. I mean, I'd say kudos to Andrew for stepping away from that. So what are your thoughts? Do you think the way that this was edited and the way that this is put together is trash? Are you going to keep watching, or are you done? Ratings continue to slide. They lost another 80,000 viewers last week. I will be interested to see what the viewership will be from this past week, but it's not looking good for this series, and we'll see how it continues to go. At some point, I keep getting messages from people that they have done, they're boycotting, they will not watch anymore. And anytime MTV now shares anything about Amber on social media, it gets flooded with negative comments to the point that they aren't even really promoting Amber's storyline anymore because of the pushback. And even on Twitter, like a recent tweet about how far she's come was lambasted with, you know, why are you doing this? Why are you supporting her? This is terrible. So that's what I've got for now. I'll be back later with a little bit more on different content. But if there's anything that you want me to know, discuss, or anything, let me know. Make sure before you go, subscribe down here, give this video a thumbs up, share this video with friends. If you are interested in helping me to have, by financially supporting it, consider becoming a member. And then you can join my Discord. All right, you guys, have a great day.